Hello, welcome to Family Therapy Podcast. My name is George Chacha. In this episode, I will be talking about 5 battles in your marriage that will call for weapons of wisdom. Five battles in your marriage that will call for weapons of wisdom. Battle number 1, infidelity. Battle number 2, lack of involvement in finances and key decision making in the marriage. Battle number 3, attacks from your in-laws. Battle number 4, that aspect of disrespect by your partner. Battle number 5 is lack of children in the marriage. If I may just give or rather go through one by one of the points that I have listed, and I begin with the battle number 1, namely infidelity or unfaithfulness. The worst you can ever do to your marriage when your partner is exhibiting or displaying levels of infidelity, and maybe it has even come to that point that they are no longer allegations but reality that your partner is being unfaithful, is to confront that rival, is to kind of face your rival with an intention of either harming him or her, attacking him or her, or rather actually just getting physical. And that is the worst thing that you, as someone who wishes to retain this marriage that seems to be disintegrating, can ever do. Never get physical against your rival. Never try to be rough, insensitive, and even kind of getting physical with your own partner because of this issue. Because where unfaithfulness or infidelity is involved, it is the state of mind that is at play. And the aspect of the psychological aspect of this can best be handled psychologically. You should never use physical means. Just like the Christians say that spiritual wars are fought by using spiritual weapons. And if you are fighting a war that involves love, then you equally have to use weapons of emotion, the weapons of love. And for this discussion, I believe we can always have one-on-one in-depth, because again, different problems, or rather different type of, when you talk about unfaithfulness or infidelity, it varies from one person to another. It is caused by one different from another, and therefore that's the reason why I encourage one-on-one discussion. Let's talk about battle number 2, namely lack of involvement in matters to do with finances and key decision making. Never try to use force to win this battle. You cannot force your partner into submission. You cannot force your partner to change the view. It will only be temporary, whereas one seems to agree, or maybe even kind of seems to come to term, but deep down his or her heart, the verdict is different. And therefore, this is an area whereby only dialogue, that aspect, communicating, getting down to communicating, having a dialogue and a one-on-one talk with your partner, putting the cards on the table to identify exactly how many kings you have, how many flowers you have, and the joker and all that kind of thing. And therefore, issues to do with finances and key decision making should never be won by using force. It calls for wisdom. You will need to go back to the point in time. You will need to go back to the the point in time when you people were kind of reasoning together, you were kind of sharing the low moments, the high moments, and just try to collect from the very beginning about the issues. But number two is that aspect of disrespect from your in-laws. The worst, again, you can ever do to your marriage is to fight your in-laws, trying to rise up against them, trying to justify yourself, because you'll only be rising against a tide that is too high for you. You are alone and they are many. The mother-in-law could be involved, the brothers, the sisters, the cousins, and the family. They are all against you while you are alone. And in the process, even your partner has been won over. Your partner is like has shifted allegiance. He trusts and believes his or her relatives more than he believes and trusts you. And therefore, this is an area that also calls for great caution, a lot of precaution, so that you treat carefully, because it is a slippery ground. By you rising up against either your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, rising up against the brothers, the sisters-in-law, it will only be working against you, because again, remember, your partner, depending on how he or she grew up relating with his or her family, has a lot to do with how he will relate. It has a lot to do with whom he is going to align with, whether he's going to align with his mother or her mother, to align with his brothers and sisters or her brothers and sisters. And therefore, it's never an issue of winning, but an issue of change of perspective. And in such a scenario, it is advisable that one, just understand that human psychology has never been won by use of force, by use of intimidation. It has only been won by love, understanding, and accommodating. It is in this scenario that we will be called upon to exhibit a high level of patience, understanding. Just that. Don't rise up in arms against your in-law. The other point the other battle involving that you should really use the weapon of wisdom is that aspect of disrespect by your partner. Disrespect, of course, is that state where maybe your partner talks to you in a demeaning way, expresses or defines you in a very demeaning way. It can be painful, really. It can be very, very emotionally painful. And it comes to that point, the worst you can do is to kind of use an orthodox means. Many couples will kind of resort even to mute mode. Others will kind of also retaliate by showing disrespect. Others will just even get violent, like getting virtually verbal, abusing, throwing words here and there, and it only makes matters worse. Where disrespect is involved, then you are called upon to use the litmus talk. And like I said in one of the episodes, litmus talk is that kind of conversation that you give to your partner, and through this conversation you are able to understand the position that you occupy in the heart of your partner. It is that kind of talk that you give to your partner and has the ability to kind of stir inside the psychology and the heart of your partner, and he or she will speak exactly what he or she ought to speak. And therefore, use the litmus talk where disrespect is involved. Another battle, of course, that I mentioned is that aspect of lack of children in a relationship. And this is a relatively very also slippery and complicated issue. And in any marriage, if there are no children, for example, maybe they're talking about barrenness, it is possible that only one of the partners could be having a problem. Assuming that you have visited the doctors or you have visited the medical professionals and they have identified or isolated where the problem is, then you will need a lot of wisdom on how to handle. Depending on how much people love each other, it will call for very painful decisions. There will be big prices to pay. For instance, like maybe the aspect of adoption can come in. The aspect of again, I say this with a lot of sensitivity to religion, where children are not involved. What are the options that involve? Maybe adoption, like I've mentioned, or possibly agreeing to the fact. And again, I say this with the proof that the two couples can agree, can resolve to wait upon the Lord, wait for that miracle time, where maybe God in his own appointed time might possibly give the fruit of the body. But in the event that this miracle doesn't happen, and maybe the parties are not really religious as such, then they could also choose to stay without a child. And we know, again, from people, especially from the West, to them, companionship overrides the act of wanting to have children. Therefore, again, this is an option that could be evaluated. So if you choose to retain and uphold your marriage, and your marriage is barren, your marriage has not realized the fruit of the body, then this is a slippery ground, and it will call for soul searching. It will call for a lot of sacrifices, bordering between social and even religious. And what is it that you people want, and what are the best options available? Therefore, I believe that not all battles must be fought violently. Some battles are won without necessarily getting violent. All battles that are real battles of true marriages are able to be won by love. If you have liked this show, I request you to click the like button, subscribe, and follow me on YouTube. Let us have a lively and very participatory kind of discussion on how best can we uphold our marriages. Possibly you have a concept, an idea that I have left out. I call you, or I'm requesting you to inbox me and let us talk around it. Let us share this perspective, because my perspective may not be absolute, and it could be erroneous. It could only apply to certain relationships, and maybe to certain relationships it may not. And that's the reason why your perspective is as important as it could be. I have given my WhatsApp number. Call me on WhatsApp, call me on phone, and let's keep this discussion alive. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching.